The internet is suddenly freaking out over Luke's rescue plan in Return of the Jedi. This week, the interwebs lost its mind over a 35-year-old Star Wars plot hole that still makes no dang sense. FYI, this episode of Nerdist News contains spoilers for Return of the Jedi. Just kidding, you don't get a spoiler warning for a movie that's been out for 3 decades. Sillies. Now, you may remember that the opening sequence of Return of the Jedi is all about busting Han out of Jabba's palace, and you may also remember what a bungling show that rescue mission became, resulting in many deaths and one too many performances of Jedi Rocks by the Max Rebo Band. But when you take maybe half a second to really think about it, what was the initial plan? Here's a quick recount of what actually happens. Leia poses as a bounty hunter with Chewbacca as her bounty, infiltrating Jabba's palace. Lando has already been posing as a skiff guard for who knows how long, presumably gathering intel on the palace and where Han is being kept. Luke sends a holographic message to Jabba through R2-D2 and C-3PO. The message says he wants to trade Han for the droids. Jabba rejects the offer, but keeps the droids. Leia defrosts Han. They both get caught by Jabba and his goons. Luke rolls up in the palace. Jabba captures him too. Then Jabba brings them all out to the Sarlacc pit to sentence Luke, Han, and Chewie to death. But R2 shoots Luke his lightsaber, and Leia strangles Jabba to death, and they all escape. So, how could that cluster possibly have been the plan all along, and why did it take us 35 years to realize that this is all total nonsense? Well, last Sunday, our very own Nerdist producer, Erin Vale, finally called it out on social media site Letterboxd. In Erin's post, she lays out the events of the Han Solo rescue mission. It makes sense that Lando would disguise himself as a skiff guard to do some sweet recon, and R2-D2 and C-3PO showing up with Luke's holographic message, trying to make a deal, still tracks. But why would he leave the droids behind and was separating them his plan the whole time? Erin continued to break down that it makes some sense for Princess Leia to show up with Chewie, but wouldn't it have been easier if Luke just disguised himself as the bounty hunter Bosch instead of Leia? There are so many extra steps here. And finally, and probably most ridiculously, Luke's plan required Jabba to send everyone to the Sarlacc pit where R2-D2 uses a secret lightsaber cannon to launch Luke his lightsaber while he is performing a flip. Either Luke is playing 7D chess, or his whole plan was concocted by a hyperactive 9-year-old or someone that thinks like a hyperactive 9-year-old. Now, a few days later, on Wednesday, Uproar's writer Mike Ryan wrote up his own take on Luke's Return of the Jedi plan, and the internet caught fire like the planet of Alderaan after it was blown up by the Death Star. Now, Mike's article hits a lot of the same points as Erin's write-up, but he does go into a little more detail on what each character's part in Luke's insane plan must have been, making the point that if Jabba had agreed to Luke's deal trading the droids for Han, would we have just never seen the droids again? And if so, how would Luke have gotten his lightsaber back from R2? As far as we know, the Star Wars universe doesn't have an equivalent to UPS. Although, they're pretty technologically advanced, and I feel they could figure it out. One interesting point that Uprox brings up is that maybe Luke didn't have a plan at all, and maybe, just maybe, the rebels all happened to try to break Han out around the same time. That would explain why this plan is full of more holes than Greedo. But are Leia, Luke, and Lando really that dumb? So now let's zip over to the AV Club, which pointed out yet another possible explanation offered by Twitter user Bunch of Steve. He proposes that the first part of the rescue is Leia's plan. She convinces Lando to infiltrate Jabba's palace to find out where Han is being held. Then Lando returns some info to Leia, telling her they'll need rebel support to go get him out. Leia goes to Rebel Command. They turn her down because saving Han is low on their priority list. So Leia grabs Chewie and a bounty hunter disguise and walks right through the front door to save Han herself. And here's where this theory really takes some creative license. Luke knows about Leia's plan because of a Force vision, and instead of trying to convince her otherwise, he thinks up his own plan to lure Jabba out of his palace to the Sarlacc pit. From there, a droid with a hidden lightsaber, a flip from the edge of a death pit, and sheer dumb luck save the day. It's insane, but until Disney releases a Star Wars story standalone film that just covers this mission's planning meeting, it's the best we've got. But what do you folks think? What was the original plan to save Han, and where did it go wrong? Or did it go exactly as planned? I personally liked the third example. Let's discuss. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. And did you catch our latest show, Nerdist News What the Friday? It's our week in review show that breaks down everything you need to know in the week of pop culture. If you didn't, you can watch the VOD right now over on Alpha. Sign up for a 60-day free trial using the promo code WTFriday over at projectalpha.com.